Okay, we're gonna do jab step, one dribble shot out of a reverse pivot. All right, let's break it down. We're gonna work on something I like to call a spin out series, okay? So what's gonna happen is you're gonna spin the ball out. You could do it from wherever you want on the floor. I usually start in the corner. I like to do 5 spots with players that I work with, but you can get really creative with this, and I think that's why I like it so much. So you're gonna spin it out, okay? Land on 2 feet, that's important. And then you could either front pivot, which would be this way, as a right-handed shooter, or you could reverse pivot, which would be this way, as a right-handed shooter, okay? Now, if you're a believer in a permanent pivot foot, that's something you want to talk to your players about. If you're a believer in using both feet as pivot feet, you can mix it up and get creative with it. That's up to you. Now, there's a lot of options out of this. So the first one, you could spin it out, okay? Another important detail is making sure you're landing on 2 feet, because if you land 1-2, that has to be your pivot, right? So you're already locking into a permanent pivot foot. If you land on 2 feet, you could pick either pivot foot to use, okay? So what you could do, and what I typically do, my progression, again, depends on the player, depends on your skill level, but what I usually do is I'll go land, I'll go front pivot, shoot, make 5 to 10. I'll go reverse pivot, shoot, make 5 to 10, focusing on balance when you pivot. So focusing on being here, opening up, not falling forward, not your foot's not in front, you're not in your shooting stance, whatever that may be. Everyone's different, but your feet are even, you're on a good balance, and you let it fly. Then I like to add jab steps. So what we could do then is we could go reverse pivot, jab step, shot, right? We could go front pivot, jab step, shot. And then usually the third progression I like is a reverse and front pivot, jab step, one dribble shot. So then it would be like this. You'd be here, open up, reverse, jab, taking that jab foot and taking that cross step across our body. And then you could go same thing with your reverse pivot, shot. So you're working on multiple things here. And again, you could do this from wherever you want on the floor. You could do this from the wings, from the top, from the corners, wherever you want. And then just make sure we start in the paint, okay? So like I said with the details, land on 2 feet. If you don't land on 2 feet, then you don't get to pick your pivot foot. When you pivot, make sure you're on balance, ready to play. You don't want to pivot and be like your feet are in front of each other and you're falling over, right? You want to turn and pivot and your feet to be, in ready to blow by, ready to shoot, whatever it may be.